Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, your FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion for Top 3, for a topic for Top 3, be sure to drop us a note on Twitter at FocusFireChat, in our Discord, or even email us at focusfirechat@gmail.com. This week, this 3 days after the last time we recorded this, before we're even releasing the last episode. I'm sorry.
It's all my fault. It's all my fault.
We're talking about top 3 comics. Specifically, comics, not manga, not I don't know.
Just not manga. Just not manga.
Just not manga. It was a big debate last episode, if you guys remember. So,
well, they won't, because I was an idiot, and I dropped the ball last week on uploading top 3. So last week's top 3 got uploaded this morning. Last week's audio got uploaded this morning. I will upload this weekend's audio tomorrow, which will be Wednesday. And then this file I'm going to be putting back on the regular schedule, so it will be next Wednesday.
Yeah, so it'll be fine. They'll get it in time.
We're going to jump all the way through the Vex time gates.
It'll be great. Oh, who wants to go first? You want to go first, Blue?
Yeah, I can go first. Or actually, let's give Justin the honor of going first, since he's not going to weigh in too much on it. His top 3. Let's just go. His third. We're going to start at 3. Mm-hmm. His number 3 is Watermelon XO.
Aw, Mr. Jake. Loving Mr. Jake.
So he's starting off strong with the webcomic, which actually I had several webcomics myself that I ultimately did not choose any of them, but like there was a number of them that I think are really, really well done. For me though, my number 3 would be Powers, which is, I believe they made it into a TV show on the Sony network, if I remember correctly.
Yes, they did.
I don't know how it was, because I don't have Sony network, but the comic book, or the comic series, was absolutely amazing. It was probably it's more of an indie type writing style, but the basic premise is that it's in a like really gritty, realistic world in which superpowers exist, and it takes place. The main character is a former super who has basically lost his powers in a way. And then his partner is I haven't read it in years, so this is all off the top of my head. But it was literally it was probably one of the first like truly indie comics that I got really into. And it was just because the story was just amazingly well written. Like, it was just a very unique concept. So that's my number 3.
Nice. Beard, what about your number 3?
Comics are weird, right? Because they go in arcs. And a lot of times with like arcs, you have to sit back and kind of digest all of them. The other problem with comics is that they've been around since like the freaking 20s at this point, if not longer. But if I had to go with anything that's like an older strip style comic and whatnot that's been around for a long time, grief now. Calvin and Hobbes.
Aww, I love Hobbes.
Calvin and Hobbes has like always been one of those, even from like childhood, that I've been able to like go back and read. And I know that things have kind of changed a little bit for the strip, but it is still like one of my favorites to go back and read every now and again.
Those are fun. My introduction to Calvin and Hobbes has to be, unfortunately, the is it Calvin sticker where he's looking over his shoulder and doing an inappropriate thing on the back of trucks, because I grew up in Kansas and that was a thing there.
No, it's not just Kansas. It's anywhere that has trucks. It's going to be the thing.
And gosh. Okay, so my comic book experience is fairly limited, but still is going to be semi-traditional. I did pick an arc, because you were talking about how comics go in arcs. I'm not a huge fan of Green Lantern, but the very first event that I ever read that I really actually thought kind of enjoyed was the Blackest Night arc. Blackest Night, Brightest Day.
Definitely a good one.
Yeah, because I mean, the events are so crazy because it spans the entire spectrum of DC or Marvel, depending on who you're watching or reading. And I always found the Green Lantern Corps books, which they didn't come out with very many of them, or Green Lantern Corps, if you're going to actually say the P. Sounds terrible, so I just go Corps. But those were really interesting because it developed the reasonings behind the different emotions in the rings, and I always thought that was kind of cool. The more psychological aspects of Green Lantern and seeing how those different characters interact. Yeah, that's my number 3. And if you guys kind of heard in the background a little bit, we do have a PurpleChimera in the wild behind us.
Hello.
And she's given her free reign to intercede, comment on things as she wants to in this. If you ever want to throw in anything, Purple, just feel free to do that. And what's Justin's number 2, Blue?
The Killing Joke. Which is a strong. It's a strong choice. That's a strong choice.
Yeah, such a sad one though too.
Yeah, it is.
Because I believe that's the one where Oracle is explained.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Or Barbara Gordon gets made into Oracle, basically.
Yeah, I gotta say where she goes from Batgirl to not Batgirl.
To not Batgirl, which I still, yeah. Oracle, I still really like Oracle, but yeah, that was a very. I
think the first time I had seen that, I was very wishy-washy on how to feel. I guess it's the best way I can put it.
Because it was
just so cold.
Well, and that was, I'm trying to remember, because that was in line with Under Red Hood. Wasn't Death in the Family in that kind of arc as well? Even though that was kind of its own arc. So yeah, that was a you want to talk about a Dark Knight era for the Dark Knight. But yeah, my number 2 is Fables. Simply because if any of you have read Fables, oh my god, it is just like, so like I love fairy tales. Like I love like original fairy tales, the true like Grimm's and Hans Christian Andersen and all these, like all the authentic and old fairy tales, mostly because it's just like they just don't. I love stories that are just completely unafraid to not pull punches and just really kind of have that whole teaching moment. And I really actually don't mind, for the large part, remixes of the Grimm's fairy tales. There's been a huge number of them recently, but a lot of times when you get them, I'm not a fan of how, like, when Disney gets their hands on it, they kind of like it feels like they almost neuter the story, and you kind of lose stuff in that translation. And so Fables as a comic was just like, it kind of starts off really kind of weird, but then like probably about halfway through the story arc, when you start kind of putting the pieces together and everything, it just, oh my gosh, it just takes off, and it's so good. And then I think that was also didn't the guys who did Tales from the Borderlands, Telltale, didn't they do a video game with Bigby?
Yes, I believe so. I know they were talking about it. I'm pretty sure they went through with it, but I remember seeing talks about it.
And that was really cool seeing that. But yeah, like that comic again, kind of, I can't remember. Was that an independent publisher?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think Image did that one. Image might have.
I can't remember. It was really well done regardless.
Fable was super popular for a long time too. Like that, you couldn't go to a comic book store without seeing them.
Oh yeah,
Not Fable video game.
I stole them. I stole them off of. Yeah, this is not the Fable video game. This is I think it's Fables.
Fables comic book series. There's 150 of them.
Mm-hmm. It's so good, so good.
Vertigo published
Okay.
it.
Cool. So yeah, Fables and Powers. Honestly, if you haven't read them, I would really recommend at least going and getting like the initial couple and just giving them a feel, because they're really, really just fun reads. But yeah, so that's my number 2 in a very strong. There's not even really a contest for me for most of these.
Yeah, I actually had to. Okay, so my number 2 is another kind of semi sort of. They're not an indie publisher, but they're a smaller name, even though they've gotten kind of popular on like Comixology. And I know I'm totally jumping in front of you, Beard.
Oh, Comixology, yeah.
But my number 2 is Wicked and the Divine, which is a really interesting take on the Gods Walking Among Us story. And we're going to kind of talk about the whole different types of stories that are written over and over and over again, or like if there's multiple stories or whatever. We're talking about that in the actual episode later on tonight that we're recording. So Wicked and Divine actually makes an interesting take on gods walking among us and whether or not they are people like you and me and they just develop out of that or whatnot. It's a fun take on what it means to be a god, which I always find interesting.
So is that like American Gods? Like
sort of, not
like that
really.
That type of concept of them walking amongst us idea?
Yes, but it's more of they're not beings that know that they're deities from the beginning. They develop into deities.
Oh,
so it's like a inherited deity type thing.
I'm stealing that list from you later.
Yeah,
because I'll have to definitely go check that one out.
That one's fun. But yeah, sorry, Beard. I'm sorry. I was just really excited about talking about that one. What's your number 2?
You're fine. One of the newer series that I was like really trying to track down and never could actually get the whole thing of because comics guys that I was working with didn't really help with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really trying to track down all the newer stuff involving Nightwing. All the newer Dick Grayson stuff has actually been pretty fun to read over. He's actually involved within a couple different ones because he has the main Nightwing, but then there's also like a side Detective Comics one that he's also in, which is pretty cool. But most of the iterations, like I think I just have a soft spot as it is for the original Robin or for Nightwing as he is now, only because like Dick Grayson was the kid that turned into a superhero, if you will.
Yeah.
Or at least into a hero. So for me, he was always that kid that I kind of idolized and wanted to be more like. Started actually doing some more gym. You wouldn't tell from looking at me today, but I started doing some more like gymnastic stuff when I was younger. Besides, just because of him. But it's just he's always been one of those characters I just connect with.
Not to
Nightwing
mention,
is.
Yeah, okay, go for it, Green. Go for it.
It's just like any of the Robins in general. Like Nightwing in particular is a good character, but like the Robin stories, I always found them really relatable as far as like DC characters go.
Well, and the cool thing with them in general, like you've got Dick Grayson, who of course grows up and becomes his own thing with Nightwing because he's like, I like the way that Bruce is doing things in a lot of ways, but I need to go off and do my own thing and maybe push it a little bit further than what he wants to do, what he's willing to do. And I can totally understand and respect that from the idea of, well, I'm still not going to kill anybody, but there's still moves that I need to take, that I need to do that are going to be things that he's going to think are still reprehensible. And then you've got the Jason Todd, of course, that ends up becoming Red Hood, which is just a tragedy to begin with, and that's
He pushes
Jason
the
Todd is a
he pushes the
tragedy.
envelope to be in too.
Well, I'm going to say in a completely different way.
Right.
The whole thing though with Jason, of course, with how he's broken down as a character, quite literally.
Yeah.
He's like
just-
the Kyle Rayner of
Yeah.
Batman.
Well,
characters.
and you can also argue with Todd that a large percentage of it's not even really Todd. I mean, the events, like what I think Beard was kind of gonna say, is like the way that he's broken down and then literally remade is quite, in and of itself quite violent, and it kind of explains to a large degree his particular aspect of his own violent strains.
Yeah. Yep. And then, of course, you've got Red Robin, which now I can't remember his name for the life of me. But Red Robin is the do-good detective that could very well take over everything from Bruce when all is said and done. But he still just has that violent streak about him, and he's still a little too young, a little too naive in some regards. And then you've got Damien. And
Yeah.
Damien just goes the entire different direction with how it all is. Granted, being a technical, if you follow the actual lore behind it and how they put it all together, being an actual clone of Bruce that turns out to not be such a good clone, so to speak. It's kind of explainable in a way.
Sort of.
But yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. No, but to get back to your statement, Green, the majority of the time, I think the Robin stories are relatable. They're generally pretty darn good, even if the Batman arcs aren't doing well.
Mm-hmm.
Like Batman as a whole, I don't think is really what carries the comic arc as it is for Batman. I still say and think that it completely relies on the supporting characters of either the villains or of the Robin characters to really make it strong and make it work.
Yeah. I had a nice long conversation about the Batman movies, like the early 90s Batman movies, the other day. It's just like, oh, like, if you realize that they're campy to be campy, but they're trying to be serious at the same time, just like, oh.
Well,
Yeah.
the interesting thing for me for the Batman stuff, kind of going off what you were saying, Beard, is that Batman is such in and of itself a lone superhero that it's interesting that that's the case. That if you get down into the nitty gritty of his story, and I don't think it's always intentional, but I think there is a large part of it which is intentional. He has to have that counterpart. He has to have that team to kind of balance him out.
Otherwise, it's not relatable.
Well, I mean, there's that, but otherwise he would lose himself. Like, it's the darkness that he constantly struggles with, and in and of itself, like even the Robins, the various Robins struggle with it as well, in their own way. But I just always find that an interesting dichotomy with Batman, especially, is he's such a strong, independent, like he's a strong, independent character. I totally did not mean for that to come out that way, but he's such like a loner.
He's a strong, independent superhero.
Yeah, he is. But he's not.
He don't need no gadgets.
He don't need. Well, let's not go that far.
He needs all the gadgets.
He needs all the gadgets, but none of the sidekicks. Wait, nope, that's not true either.
Sort of does.
Yeah, but I do like that. Again about that's kind of like I almost want to say that's a purposeful flaw within his character too, is because you don't see that with a number of other characters even within DC. But
yeah,
what's Justin's number one, Blue?
Death of Superman. Speaking of DC Comics, yeah, Death of Superman was his number one, which was another really interesting arc. Actually, it was.
Also dark. Another dark arc.
It was really dark, but at the same time, it had like I don't know. It was. The message was, if I'm remembering Death of Superman, I always confuse Death of Superman with like other Doomsday, because was Death of Superman, was that Doomsday?
I don't remember because Superman is one of my least favorite characters.
Oh yeah, no, agreed. I mean, but I think wasn't it Doomsday that killed him in Death of Superman? But anyways, like yeah, it was more of like I don't know. I kind of that was one of the few arcs that I actually of Superman's that I actually did not enjoy. Did not enjoy. Right? Double negative there. I enjoyed it. Let's just put it that way. That's easier. Let's just go with the positive instead of the double negative.
Just to round it out, yes, it was Doomsday.
It was Doomsday, okay.
That killed him on this one. I always get that in I think it's Apocalypse. I always get
that's
all the time.
That and then Sinestro. Anyways, yeah.
Sinestro is an entirely different topic. Let's not with that.
Yeah.
Let's not and say we never did.
My number one is very firmly Star Wars Shadow of the Empire.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and again, this is kind of going back to previous conversations that I know Beard and I have had, but Shadows of the Empire was seriously it just I don't know. It was just a really well done comic. And like
it was very underappreciated.
Oh my god, I have the comics like in physical, like the physical comics, and I still will pull them out and read them. It's as far as like the old expanded universe for Star Wars, it is up there in my mind with the Kyle Katarn storyline, and that's that's one of my favorite, if not my favorite. That's not a comic.
No.
But yeah, Shadows of the Empire, the artwork was beautifully done, and it was just another one of those, like, it opened the door to like tertiary characters, like not even secondary characters. These are characters that you don't even see anywhere else. Right. So, but yeah, that's really where I got. That's actually one of the things that got me hooked into Star Wars Expanded Universe was that whole series, or that whole storyline. But yeah, that's my number one.
I know Purple said to make sure that she gets brought in on number one because she's got one for us.
I do. It's the only comic series I've read all the way through, so it kind of gets it by default.
Nice.
It's Hellboy.
Oh yeah.
Weirdly obsessed with Hellboy. It surprises a lot of people.
Why?
It's a
good
story.
Not that it's not good, but like I guess it doesn't.
Your wholesome character shouldn't like that.
Yeah,
I guess. Well, and I'm not generally into Lovecraft, so it's kind of a weird thing, I guess, in that way.
Yeah, I can see
that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because Hellboy kind of does kind of firmly sit in the Lovecraft.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I attended a panel at Dragon Con where Mike Mignola sat on it, and as well as some other people who and talked about the influence of Lovecraft on modern stuff.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
That would be an interesting panel.
It was really amazing, and they talked about the weirdness of the fact that there are like Cthulhu plushies. It was really great.
As well as an amazing game called Unspeakable Words, which is the only Scrabble game I will ever play.
Really? I'm going to have to go look this up. What is this?
So, Unspeakable Words is a Lovecraftian themed Scrabble game where you're playing Scrabble essentially, making up words, and you have a deck of cards, and you have to make up words with whatever cards you have instead of tiles. Once you essentially slowly lose sanity, which is your little Cthulhu monsters, and once you get down to having only one, you can make up words, and you create random words to get points by however many, I think, straight lines there are on it, or like how many corners are on each piece or on each word. It's an amazing Scrabble game that allows me to cheat. Because I am terrible at Scrabble.
Fair enough. Which means that it would probably drive me insane. Literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, and then you have the tabletop games for the
Yeah.
Cthulhu series.
Oh
And
yeah, and there's
D&D
a Cthulhu role-playing
introduced,
games.
D&D introduced the sanity mechanic. Oh my gosh, which is so annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And
unless
there's actually
you're the DM, then it's really fun.
I forget the name of it, but there is a like Lovecraft role-playing game.
Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's
Where-
Call of Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think, right? Is that the one that you're mentioning? You mean?
I think I
It's
don't
the one
remember
where
what it
you
was called.
you play the different roles within the Cthulhu archetype, and you have you have certain tasks that you have to do to try to prevent. It's also like
The apocalypse.
the apocalypse. It's also what is
There's so
Cabin
many.
in the Woods. That's the one. Cabin in the Woods is the other one where they don't prevent the apocalypse.
Where they try to hasten it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So yeah, Cthulhu hijacked that.
Fear, do you want to go next with
Sure.
your number one?
So, I actually have to give a small runner-up, which actually really isn't a small one. It's a rather large segment, but it is anything done by Neil Gaiman.
Yes. Yes.
I absolutely love absolutely everything that he puts out there. Yep, that's at least a number one, like from him. That series is fantastic, and anything that he seems to put his name on is just amazingly well done, for the comic realm or otherwise. But it is beaten by one thing, because I am possibly slightly psychopathic. I don't know where anybody thinks I'm not. And in that regard, it would be Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe.
Oh my gosh!
Really?
Yes, it is such a funny one. The ending though is so great.
It's not even because of Deadpool Kills. It's because of Deadpool Killustrated. Because after you're done with the main arc, the main 4-comic arc of actually seeing Deadpool like killing everybody within the Marvel universe, he ends up going, well, now what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And he starts ripping into the multiverse, and then it develops into something even worse. Because
so
what
funny.
he then does is he starts going, comic books are pretty much based on literature. I should go back and start killing like guys like Mark Twain. And that is exactly what he does.
God.
So most of the arc continues with him.
Awesome.
It's so good. Most of the arc continues with him going through like all these different eras in time. And he's
Teddy
basically
Roosevelt
just
one?
yes, friggin' Teddy Roosevelt, friggin' Arthur Conan Doyle is brought into it for like Sherlock Holmes, like everything you can think of. Tom Sawyer,
Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah, he's in there if I recall.
And he's such it's so Deadpool because he themes the killing. It's based on the different things.
And the covers, just honestly go if you get a chance and look up the covers that they did for it. Like I'm gonna just be blunt about it right now. There is a lot of that is produced right now within the comic book world, and I still feel like that is one of the shining stars. It is still stupid, but it is a wonderful stupid. It is the kind of stupid that like needs to be within comics more often, so that it takes itself seriously enough, but it doesn't quite take itself like drastically seriously, if that makes sense. Like there's this point where all of these stories that they try to like really make sense out of, you can tell how hard they push it, and it's just like, it's just a comic book, guys. Like, come on, let's loosen it up just a little bit here. But and I know the medium has also changed a lot besides. But yeah, Killustrated and Deadpool Kills are easily like my favorite comics, especially of like the last decade. Easily just so much fun to sit down and like reread even and just relook at the art and just see like, yeah, Deadpool's finally doing the thing he's wanted to do for God knows how long within the universe itself.
Oh, Deadpool! Deadpool's just such a funny character.
I've been really impressed with what they've done with the movies. I'm always impressed with what they do with the comics themselves. But he is just there's comic book characters, and then there's Deadpool. Like Deadpool always just stands on his own.
It's the only. Sorry, go for it. Sorry.
No, you go for it.
I was going to say it's the only superhero movie that both my wife and I make a point of going to see as quickly as possible. Both of those movies, like they came out, and the first one came out, and they did the whole it's a love story, it's a family story or what, and it like really, if I remember right, it released on Valentine's Day, I think.
It did.
And literally I made no comment. Like Deadpool, I love Deadpool's character. I'm actually I as much as I love his character, I love the overall character. I'm not particularly, there's not like any particular comic of his that I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Like it's just his character and what he does for the medium. But like I didn't make any comment about it coming out, and my wife, I don't even know how she found out that it was coming out. She messaged me. She's like, so what are we doing for Valentine's Day? And I was like, I don't, whatever you want to do. And she's like, okay, we're going to go see Deadpool. And it was like, I knew I married you for a reason.
Yes.
So, but yeah, no, Deadpool is I love that character.
Yeah. Yeah, as a character, like I said, he stands on his own within the genre as a whole. Like you think about Batman and you think about Superman, you think about then it going over to Marvel with like all these ne'er-do-wells that are within Marvel's universe, and then you think about all the goody two-shoes that exist besides, but then you think about Deadpool and you're like, he's just so in the middle. He plays the middle card so well.
You know what's nice, though, is that Ryan Reynolds makes such a better Deadpool than he does Green Lantern.
Oh my gosh.
I just love the fact that they made fun of Green Lantern in Deadpool. It was wonderful.
Have you seen the ending of Deadpool 2?
I haven't seen Deadpool 2 yet. I have to wait.
Yes, they further continue that joke, by the way.
Good.
They need to. They need just to cement how terrible that movie was.
Oh no, yeah. You will, if you I didn't realize neither of you had seen that. You will be very pleased, as usual with Marvel, stay after the credits. But you will be very pleased with how they.
Okay, do you ever go to the theater to see a Marvel movie and then the credits start and people leave and you're like, but have you not been here before?
It's like, guys, we've been doing this. We've been doing this for over 10 years. What is going on?
You should be in on the secret.
Over a decade at this point.
This is no longer a secret. What are you doing?
I will say that Green Lantern is it's the movie that ruined my midnight release experience. It's the only movie I've ever done a midnight release on, and it's the only movie I probably ever will because I was so utterly disappointed in it.
I mean, to be honest, Green Lantern ruined a lot of movie experiences for a lot of people. So,
God, it was terrible. Okay, so I'm going to go on a serious route for my number one and close this out on something a little bit more serious because Hey,
Deadpool can be serious and also not at the same exact time.
Deadpool can be very serious, and it's very sad when he's serious.
Right.
Yes.
You don't want Deadpool to be serious, though.
The like 3 times that he has been in a couple of the like official comic arcs, it's like, oh
yeah, really.
Oh no, Deadpool,
it's like,
go back to being your normal self. It's
like, let me tell you about how I got cancer. You don't have to do that. No, you don't have to do it. No, I'll stop. Just abort. We're gone too far. Abort.
But anyways,
I'm just like, at least Deadpool has the ability to laugh at itself. I'm talking about a comic that doesn't really do that. So it's a DC comic, if you can't tell.
A lot of comics can't laugh at themselves, especially
just let her say her thing, Beer.
I just like to drag things out. She should be used to this. At this
I'm
point.
totally used to this.
Sorry, Green, go
I
ahead.
take breasts in specific spots just because I know Beard's going to interrupt.
We know each other so well at this
Yes.
point.
Yep. No, my number one is actually a character that I fell in love with back in high school. That if you know me at all, it will not come as a surprise to you, even though her story arcs have kind of deteriorated over the years and come back like wax and wane. I own some of the what is it called? It's essentially the anthologies of her original comics, and
Like the omnibus?
It's not technically the omnibus, I don't think.
No,
It's
it would be. I think it's just an anthology. I think they just refer to them because an omnibus is the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I believe so. But this one has like I have volume 1, 2, and 3 of this. It doesn't have all of her original Golden Age stuff, but it has some of it. And the person I'm talking about is Wonder Woman, the original.
Okay.
The original character, Wonder Woman character, who kind of got put off to the side as being just this mousy person that you don't think that she's special or whatnot, but you find out that she's from an island of women and kind of a bad. I'm just gonna cuss just because she deserves it, but yeah, Wonder Woman
It's
is
true though.
She's
really awesome.
Yeah. And she's had good runs. She's had terrible runs. The latest one isn't too bad, but so many books for that character when the catalog is so large, it's hard to have so many good ones, but I don't know. She's still my favorite character of all time and always will be. As far as our top threes, I think we've gotten all the way to number one, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Next week, I think we decided on doing actual manga instead of books. Is that what we're doing next week? You guys get like a week and a half to prep this one instead of 3 days. Sound good?
I'm good. Beard,
All right.
can you survive that?
I'll get back to you on that one, maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us this week for FFC Top 3. See you next week.